Now, this is a very aggressive Quintus we're seeing here. Like, he straight up lies to Quintus. This is, a callback to that moment with Simon. Welcome to The Snipe Life, where we look at creativity through the lens of Christianity, and today we're talking about The Chosen. Of course, we talk about a lot of different stuff on this channel to do with Christian, just different stuff, Christian culture and understanding, Christian media. Also, we've got a ton of videos coming up very soon about our Israel trip, which is going to be amazing. But this episode, we're talking specifically about Gaius. In episode 6 of season 3 of The Chosen, Gaius is a huge part of the season because we're seeing him kind of turn more and more and more towards a believing understanding, and it looks like 99.9999999% sure that Gaius is going to be the centurion with the ill servant, which we see in scripture. So this is a big part of Gaius's journey. He's deciding what he wants to do and who he wants to be and how he wants to act. And we're seeing more of that play out. Even in spite of what Quintus wants him to do, he's kind of disobeying some of those things. So let's jump into some of these scenes with Gaius and see where he's going and what he's doing. How is this impacting Gaius overall? Let's jump in.
Dominus.
You have brothers, Gaius.
Yes, sir. One.
Germanic origins, and you only have one.
Yes.
Older or younger?
What?
You can tell that Gaius is distracted, right? He's been having this issue for a while. We saw in an earlier episode, he actually lies. Like, he straight up lies to Quintus. And Atticus kind of goes along with it as well. But he lies to Quintus, saying that Jesus' sermon was nothing special, that it was just a normal Jewish sermon. But that's not the case at all. And he knows that. And Atticus knows that. He knows that it's different than a normal sermon. But they're lying to Quintus. Well, Gaius is lying to Quintus because he doesn't know how he quite feels about everything, and things are starting to change for him. And especially the more time that he's spending with Simon fixing the cistern, it's changing the way that he's thinking about Jews overall.
Brother. I could have you drawn and quartered for not answering me the first time.
Younger.
Huh. And did he ever tell on you? If you broke a dish, stole a fruit, did something with a girl?
I do not often reminisce, but yes.
Atticus is meeting with Pilate in Jerusalem, and he's telling on me like a meddling little brother. He's there right now, slandering our oversight of Capernaum.
Yep. We did a whole episode on Atticus, so if you want to go back and check that one out, definitely go do that. But yeah, and here we see as Quintus is not as funny and endearing as he has been in previous seasons, especially season 1. He's seeming more and more dangerous, more and more unhinged, more and more lethal in a lot of ways. And so we're seeing, as we experience more and more of Quintus, he actually seems less and less powerful in a way. We're seeing more and more of his cracks in his armor, and also that he is not as powerful as Pilate or even Atticus. He's kind of losing some of that power level as we see these other Romans and other figures kind of come into place. It's quite interesting to see the evolution of that, because season 1, he was kind of this indomitable, master force that nobody could mess with. But now we're seeing that there are people that are much more powerful than him.
I need Pilate's endorsement if I ever hope to get a promotion.
Your record speaks for itself, Dominus.
You have utterly failed me in the tent city.
I will do better.
You're not enforcing the ordinances I suggested. And worst of all, they have no money. Zero. No one works. Waiting around for a spectacle from the preacher, who I might add, I thought we were done with.
So Quintus is looking a little bit more unhinged here, but we can also see that Gaius is just kind of nonchalantly listening to him. it's almost as if he sees how important Jesus is, and he's not allowing Quintus to kind of ruin that vision that he sees. I don't know. Obviously, Gaius is going to be an influential person, and he's going to help do all these different things, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here.
And jailing them costs money, so
How can I make it right?
you could kill Jesus of Nazareth. Make a very public display of it so they have no reason to stay.
Now, this is a very aggressive Quintus we're seeing here. Now, we know that Quintus doesn't have a real problem like killing people or dealing with people, but we haven't actually seen him do any of that. Really interesting to see here. He's just instantly like, well, let's kill Jesus. Let's do it in the public. Let's show everybody. And he was going to have Gaius do it as well.
But then they will revolt, and it gets bloody,
Yep.
and I hate the wailing. I do hate the death wailing. I don't know how Pilate does it. Anyway.
So this is a callback to what we talked about earlier on our Pilate episode. When Pilate is a very aggressive, very cruel leader in a lot of ways. He's very dangerous in the way that he operates. He kills a lot of people. And so Quintus is saying he can't really handle it, but Pilate is obviously way better at handling that sort of thing. But he's also saying that he wouldn't want to be reprimanded by Pilate as well. Let's see.
We're not savages. Let's get rid of the tent city.
How can I do that?
I love Gaius's confusion here. You can see that there's a wrestling within him, and during this whole season, we've seen this in Gaius from the very, very beginning. Remember that moment with Atticus, where in episode 1 of season 3, like Atticus is like asking him these questions, and Gaius just can't even respond because he's so flabbergasted by what he just witnessed. And he really truly experienced God. And we talk about it all the time on this channel. When you experience God, you can't help but be changed. And so Gaius has really experienced God, where Atticus really has not. He's just kind of observed what's going on.
Gaius, use your imagination. If you see a damaged home, tell them it's not up to code and tear it down. If you see somebody who's sick, arrest them for spreading pestilence. Somebody selling wares, tell them they don't have permission and shut them down. Put out the fires, Gaius, until it's too cold, dark, and miserable to stay. Primi.
I know what I must do, Dominus.
So this is very like mysterious, right? Let's go back and watch that one more time.
Primi.
I know what I must do, Dominus.
And again, we hear some of those musical themes kind of going on in the background. But we see as Gaius is really focused and he's doing his job. He's telling Quintus exactly what he wants to hear. But there's something else that Gaius is focused on, and we'll see that in the next scene here. Now, later in this episode, we see as Gaius goes to the tent city. And while he's supposed to be taking out the tent city, that's not exactly what's being done. As he goes through, we see him interact in a new way. Again, this house is not up to code. What did Quintus say? If this house is not up to code, tear it down. That's the first thing he said. This house doesn't seem up to code. It's barely holding together. But what does Gaius do? He thinks about it for a second. He thinks about what he needs to do, and then he sees this piece of rope, and it reminds him of what? There's a scene earlier that we saw in an earlier episode with Simon and Gaius, and of course in this scene we see as Simon teaches Gaius, or he shows Gaius that he knows how to tie this rope. He's just kind of messing with his hands, but then Gaius shows him that he knows all of these different knots from his childhood that he was taught. And cinematically, what is that word that I'm thinking of? Literarily, in terms of storytelling, this is, a callback to that moment with Simon, but it's also a callback to how Gaius is learning about the Jews overall, learning about Jesus overall, and kind of showing that it's having an impact in his heart.
Morning. It's all right.
That would have been a common response to Romans. Romans, they were scary. These were like bad dudes. And instead of tearing down, he's helping to build up.
All is well.
All is well. And let's get past this zealot part. No, this is the part we just saw. Yep. And then at the end of the whole sermon with Jesus here, we get another moment where Gaius basically defends Jesus, and he helped Jairus to kind of disperse the crowd.
All of you, return to your homes and shelters immediately.
And again, remember, Gaius is supposed to be tearing down Tent City right now. That's what he's supposed to be doing.
I said immediately.
Let's return to our homes. It's all right.
I will report all of this. You are deceiving. I said, go home.
Now, in the trailer for this episode, they made it look like Gaius was like about to kill somebody. Obviously, it was way less impactful than they showed in the trailer. But still a very cool moment when he's kind of like siding with Yusuf and Jairus here. Really interesting. And then that's all we see from Gaius in this episode, but we can obviously tell that Gaius is beginning to change. He's having this heart moment of like, it's leading to this moment later on. Now we know in episode 7 or 8, we're going to see Gaius' servant, but he's not going to be healed this season. I can guarantee you that. Like I bet you so much that that's not the case. I think that he is going to be healed in season 4 of The Chosen, next season. But we're setting up the story for Gaius to begin to have this whole thing happen. Going to be really, really cool to see that. I'm excited for what that means for Gaius. It means that Gaius actually has more faith than all of the apostles. He has more faith than all of the Jews, is what Jesus says. Now, Jesus may be using hyperbole there, but that's what he says. He says, "Never have I seen more faith in all of Israel than you." And we know that that is going to be Gaius from the backstory that we see from all these other things. Really, really cool. Hey, if you like this short part of our live stream, you can check out the full 5-hour live stream over on our Patreon at patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is literally the best way that you can help to support our ministry, and it really means a ton to us. You can contact us anytime through the chat on there, and you too could be like these amazing people that just joined our Patreon over the last few weeks. Thank you so much to all you amazing, amazing people, and thank you for supporting our ministry and what God has asked us to do.